Hi, good morning. This is a reflection on lesson 313 in A Course in Miracles that says, now let a new perception come to me. Now let a new perception come to me. The last couple lessons were like something like, or it says something like, I judge things as they are, and then the next one's like, I see things as they are. Now it's like, okay, all that, and let a new perception come to me, which is, it feels like when I think about that progression of lessons, like I've been seeing like how my internal world creates like this, my perception, like what I see is just a product of me, everything that makes me me, and what I take myself to even be. And then, okay, and what's left, or what's next? Let a new perception come to me is like, almost, it feels like a sense of letting go of, when that's all healing really is. When I think of the word healing, like it feels like a healing is what I was going to say, but it really feels like a letting go and letting things be as they are. And recognizing this goes in, the lesson goes into like, and just know that basically you are love. It talks about sinless, you're sinless. Like there's nothing you're doing wrong. Everything's okay. And when I thought about that, I thought about, what, is there any energetic remnant of like this, is there an old energy that keeps going round and round? Because I thought about that with yesterday's lesson, like if there's anything left to be let go of. I was talking about a trigger that prompted I have a cat here, that prompted some old energy that was still making its rounds, rearing up once in a while. And I thought, okay, with this lesson, if there's nothing wrong with us at all, there really isn't, but is there some thing that, like a pattern that keeps repeating? Because I want to look at it, right? So I thought, oh, there is one. There's this idea of restlessness, and I actually think this goes into fetter work as well. I just said I didn't even think about that going into this lesson, and that's another lens, like through which to work on the letting go of this idea of a self we've made and all that comes along with it. So that's what, if you want to look at it through that lens. And when I went into this lesson, I was like, what lens am I even looking through today? Like, what framework am I going to frame this in? And that's how that colors everything, doesn't it? It's like our starting point for how we even begin to talk about something. So I was still thinking about that idea of not landing and why that strikes me so much. And then I started thinking about how things have a very simple explanation if you're looking for explanations. Sometimes I'm not. Oftentimes I'm not. I just kind of want to feel things. But today I thought, well, if there's some old energy surrounding this idea of not landing, because usually things that strike me usually are like for a reason, what is the simplest explanation or like framework I could look through to understand an old energy that seems to be about like restlessness and being okay with restlessness, and what's it telling me? And when I think about restlessness, I think about this idea that like, I'm doing this, like this is happening, and yet something in me is like, even if I don't feel the need to jump up and be doing something different, something in me might be orienting like, is there something else to be done right now? Is there something else that needs doing, to be done, that am I supposed to be somewhere other than I am, doing something other than I'm doing? Oh, look, he had to turn over. This is one of my favorite positions. Look. I got your belly. see why he brings me so much joy, and no matter what chaos. Oh, there was a lot this weekend. He peed on stuff. Oh, oh man, it was hard. We've thrown out more furniture this week, and he destroys like so much, and yet he's a sweet little baby who just wants his belly rubbed. So anyway, that's not what this is about. So what I did is I sat down, because I like trust now what comes to me in a moment, right? Just trust what comes. And something felt, oh, let's explore this idea of how many times have I moved in my life. And you think about this idea of restlessness, like there's movement that should be happening. And I'm like, oh God, I've moved a lot in my life. I counted up, because this it's another thing I keep hearing people talk about, so it's like in my awareness that from the ages of like 0 to 7, give or take, we are just absorbing our surroundings, right? We're just products of what's around us. We absorb like subconsciously or unconsciously, I still get confused, our parents' conditioning, like the things in our environment. We see their behaviors, and it's like we really are a sponge. That's what our nervous systems are doing from 0 to 7. We're taking on the behaviors of our parents. Like that's what we feel everything. So I hear people, especially in the psychology world, talk about from 0 to 7, and then you start to form this idea of a separate self, which is happening before that, but like fundamentally 0 to 7, they say, is like you're a sponge and you're a product of your surroundings. And then you start to form this idea of a self separate from that, right? So I'm like, okay, well, I was thinking about how many times I've moved locations in my life, like surroundings. From 0 to 7, really from 0 to 10, I'd say 10, I moved 7 times. Moved houses, locations, even towns, a couple times. Schools, I went to many different schools. And I didn't think about that while I was thinking, but yeah, that meant I was in 4 different schools in all those years. And that doesn't count like preschool, daycare type situations. It's like a few more. So, wow, I thought that's probably more than the average in those formative years. Like moving 7 times. So if you average it out, sometimes it was less than a year I was at someplace, sometimes a little bit longer than a year, but on average like 1 to 1.2 years in a place. So this idea like, oh, was I ever really landing? I may have landed, but I certainly didn't grow roots. Like this idea that people have the same bedroom for multiple years in a row. Like what? And oftentimes sharing a bedroom. So it's like maybe this whole idea of like, I don't have this sense of landing, this sense of growing roots, this sense of like, oh, that's mine, which I don't think that's necessarily good or bad, but this nothing's good or bad, but it's like this idea that, oh, there's some energetic pattern in that I could see logically taking root when I'm a sponge all those years of like, oh, time to move on. Oh, time to move on, right? Like when I was talking about the touch and go landings, like always at the ready, like don't get too comfortable. We'll probably have to move along and not take all of our belongings with us. There were some cases I distinctly remember, like pack lightly. So then I was like, okay, from age 10 when I bought this house, I was like 37, 36 or 7. So let's say 37. So from the age of 10 to 37, so like 26 to 27 years, right? And it wasn't even that. I was in one house from the age of like 10 to 18. So let's say from the age of 18 to 37, so less than 20 years, I moved 19 more times. I counted them up. So that's on average 1 a year in my adult years. And I was like, holy shit. No wonder I'm always just ready to take off again. Sorry, kitten, I gotta uncurl my legs. He's confused because I'm like, I don't want to squish him. Here, I'll show you what's happening now. So like, it's just a little baby. So I've moved 26-ish, those are the ones I remember, 26 times in my life by the time I was 37, 36. And I was like, there were times I was at a place less than a year. Usually it was like, I remember, and that's why maybe I tie my memory to a specific year. And now that I've been here 12 years, it's been hard to like anchor into like what was going on in a certain year, because my surroundings hadn't changed in like 12 years now that I've been here. So I'm like, it's getting harder and harder as I age too. There's all kinds of factors, but one of them is like nothing's changing in my surroundings. So like, how do I anchor moments in life to a year? Whereas before, I was like, I knew where I lived, in what year, and then I could orient everything else in my life around that based on my visual memory, usually. And so this, and then from there, like, maybe that's why I'm good at remembering things by years. Like when I told you, tell me a movie, I'll tell you what year it came out, sort of thing. And maybe that's why I'm a little time obsessed. Like what year, what was happening, how long did it happen? Like this idea that things are oriented in small chunks of time, because at any moment my surroundings will change. Like I can't get too anchored into a moment, into a place, location. Like everything's temporary. Well, everything's constantly changing, so like everything's a blessing in disguise, if you want to see it that way. Like, what framework am I looking through? So I think about, maybe that's why it's like, if you think of the good and the bad, if you want to frame it like that, there's different sides to everything. Like, I have no problem letting go of like everything I know is temporary. That's the nature of our world. So to me, when I say change isn't hard, I mean it. And when I say, actually, I thrive in it, to me, that's a yes, and it's almost to an extreme, meaning the idea that I feel like I need change in order to thrive. Like, to stay in one place feels stagnant. It feels a little wrong, like that at the ready, like, roots, what are those? And do I want them? Is it okay to grow them? Wait, do I even want them? Like, there's this like, and so I remember different points along the time of being in this house over 12 years, like, I think it's time to move. Like, we've been like remodeling. So like, when you think about remodeling, you think, oh, I plan to be here a while. And yet the other part of me was like, no. Something energetically felt like a no. It's time to be in new surroundings. It feels wrong to stay in one place. And there, that's me not even evaluating the why it feels wrong. Just nope, gotta go. You know, like so being identified and believing. That's what I mean by being identified with, believing my thoughts. So as like they're true, they're correct, they are matter of fact. Like gotta go. So I was always like adding pressure into our relationship of like, why are we still here? We need to be somewhere else. Luckily, I held on and grew some roots because it's been a great experience, especially a healing, a letting go experience of some of that old pattern. So, full circle, that to me is one of my old energetic patterns. And logically, like I was saying, things can be very like, there's a reason for energy like patterns. Like we are just products of circumstance and conditioning and all of that. Like when our nervous systems were formed, what was happening for me, what was happening is, well, I won't even go into it. There was a lot of like not great stuff when I was a child. And there's a lot of great stuff too. But there was also a lot of like, things aren't safe. We need to be able to go at any moment. Don't get comfortable. Pack lightly. Don't get attached to things. And yet things were very special because it was like, oh, because not having things makes you appreciate having things that you might call your own. Yet nothing was ever quite ours. My brother and I, like we didn't really have, I don't remember us having our special things, you know, and the things we did have, we shared because they were like at my grandma's, for example. So it was like things we played with, but it was in the collective pool of toys for all the kids, all my cousins and me and whoever visited my grandma. But it was special. So that's just painting a picture of this idea that not feeling like things are like mine to have for very long. Even the surroundings, maybe the people, my classmates. Like I said, I moved schools so many times in those formative years of like this idea of even, I think, and I didn't think of this, it even goes down to like having friends. Like what is it like to have, I'm getting a lot of insight today, but really this is for me. It's my little voice journals. And every time I talk about stuff, it's like a letting go. So it's like, this is that old pattern of don't get too comfortable. Don't invest too much because, and this is the crux of it, investing in something doesn't, I'll never see the fruits of what I invest in. Whoa, that's deep, yo. I gotta think about that. In the framework, that's like a way of phrasing something. Don't get too comfortable. Don't invest. Don't invest in your surroundings. Maybe that's why it's like I had this desire to remodel something and make it my own. It's like investing in that as an adult. Like I felt a need, a desire to do it, and it was like I learned a lot about myself through that. Like, oh, it feels good to do that. Like, but yet there's still that old energetic pattern that's like, don't invest too deeply. Again, that's an extreme, like the keeping things at a distance because I'm uncertain of like, will I be gone? And then also that leads to like, fundamentally underneath that is a not trusting like anything, right? And then that leads to a not trusting myself. Like, can I invest in something? Do I even want to? Like, what is all of it? So it brought up a lot. What is this even lesson about? It was about like, let a new perception come in. And it's like, okay, if I try to, and letting go means looking something directly in the eyes and being like, I see you. Like, I want to look at this old energetic pattern that says, it's time to take off. Don't invest. You're not going to see the fruits of your investment anyway. And that, there's so many things in life wrapped up to that, even financially, right? Like, I was always distrustful of, like, even a 401k. Like, I don't know. And, like, there's just so much I've had to work through, but I hadn't looked at it through this framework where I actually sat down and totaled up, like, dudes, I've lived in 26 to 27, I don't even know. I'd say 26 to 30, because there's some I probably don't remember. Different houses, locations, cities, countries. I've been to so many different schools and injecting myself into so many different new situations and surroundings that it's like, whoa, I never looked at it through that framework before. Not really. I kind of knew, like, man, I've moved a lot. And I know it has an effect on me, but when I thought, holy shit, this is like... So, enough about me. I think there's more to think about there in terms, like, really sit with this idea of investing. Because now that I've been in one place for 12 years, and I've only just recently have started to see, like, that's him, the one you saw. He goes off into some corner and does the weird meow. That's why I'm awake. I was like, it was 3:30 in the morning and he did it so loud. I was like, well, I guess I'm up. And yet this guy, sweet little angel baby. Oh, anyway, that's what I think is next for me to, like, really think about, is this idea of investing, because I'm starting to see, like, oh, I've been in the same community for this long, and it's like, yeah, I can see my roots have grown, and there have been friendships that have grown, and like appreciating small town life again, and there's been so many good, like, positive healing things that have happened. And yet there's still these old energetic patterns of, like, what's next? You know, there's some, I call it energetic because it's like there's still something that wants to be looked at and released, like, to really feel like I'm landed. Because even after 12 years here, I still don't feel like I'm letting myself land. So what is your energetic pattern? Because in order for this lesson, like it says, for this new perception to come in, where I think it's talking about we're sinless, meaning, like, there's no problem here. There's really nothing to be done. And I know that. I know there's nothing to be done. And this too can even be here, this restlessness. And it's fetter work too. So I want to look at it through that lens. FETTER, if you haven't heard of that. I've only briefly talked about it because I'm no expert on anything, but there's definitely one about restlessness. I feel like the energy is one of restlessness. I feel like I logically know where it comes from, and yet everything's totally fine. But something wants to be looked at. What's yours? Do you have one? Like, something that keeps replaying, and if you've looked at it and dealt with all the big themes already around it, and you still feel like something energetically is still, like, under the surface going, it's a little bit more. What is it for you? What old pattern is still, like, coming around once in a while? I think about the planets, where some of the planets are way out there and they have a very long orbit. That was the word I was thinking of before. how many videos ago? Not rotation, but orbit. Dang, things come back and I don't even know what we were talking about. But if you've watched the videos, there's your literal full circle moment about full circles. Yes. So I think about the planets, like some of these old energies are just like on their way around. They're way out there. I know this isn't even a good analogy because, well, I guess sometimes the planets are closer to us, right, based on their orbit. And sometimes the planet comes close and there's a warble in our gravitational field. I don't know what I'm saying. And that warble makes me go, oh, that planet's coming back around. Let's look at it while it's close. Because sometimes when it's so far away, we're like, it's not a problem. I have other closer planets to deal with right now. Well, that one seems to be that whole idea of not landing. That idea of restlessness is a planet that's coming close. Pluto is probably here right now going warble, warble. What's yours? Bye.